Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second semifinal match of the 2017 YugiTuber Grand Championship. In this match, we have TeamSamuraiX1, who is playing Burning Abyss, Phantom Knight, Kaiju, Silent Swordsman. He's playing like 6 different archetypes in one deck, going up against KaminaKat, who's playing an old classic Chain Beat. And with us for this commentary, I wanted us to get someone who's very knowledgeable on the Chain Beat deck, and that is the one, the only, the RJB0.
What's up, my Yugi Bros? I am very excited to be coming back for this particular deck, the weirdest deck in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm really excited because I haven't seen this deck in a while, and I think it has a lot of big tools in its pocket for this format. Between the Mirror Forces, Card of Demise, Pot of Desires, these are all really powerful for Chain Beat. So I'm really excited to see how this turns out.
So for those who are unfamiliar, because I mean, Chain Beat is kind of a niche deck, I would say. Why don't you explain like how Chain Beat kind of functions?
Oh boy. So Chain Beat it's a very control stun type deck, and the very core of Chain Beat is Wind Up Rabbit and Evil Swarm Thunderbird, both of which have the effects that they can peace out from the field for a turn. In chain to other cards, which means that you can abuse things like needle sealing, and the favorite of the deck is Compulsory Escape Device, which doesn't target and doesn't destroy. It actually shuffles a monster on the field into each player's deck, which you can activate while you have monsters. You have to have a monster on the field to activate it, but it doesn't have to have a monster on the field to resolve. So you activate that, you banish all your monsters, your opponent has to shuffle a monster into their deck, doesn't target, doesn't destroy, and then during your next turn, your Thunderbird comes back with 300 more attack, and your Wind Up Rabbit is back, and your opponent has lost everything, and you've lost nothing. That's the basis of the deck, and it exploits basically every stupid technicality that the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Has to offer.
And perfect description. And before we get any further, want to shout out MST TV, as always, for the sick intro, the sick artwork, all the stuff he's done for us. Be sure to give him a sub and check out his channel in the description. But yeah, Chain Beat's a really...
Ooh, down goes the Raigeki early.
Raigeki early on these Dantes here. I definitely like Chain Beat because it can abuse so many anti-meta cards as well. Just like, you know, especially in this matchup where Burning Abyss was a favorite going into this tournament. But you got stuff like Macrocosmos, DeFi, and then even stuff you were saying like Compulsory Escape Device, which actually is going to really help him out in this matchup. Just all these really cool tools that a lot of decks aren't really prepared to handle.
And this deck can put down one of the most powerful trap cards in the current metagame that doesn't get used because of its main stipulation, which is Drowning Mirror Force. Mm-hmm. This deck can say, hey, I'm about to be attacked with a full field of monsters. I don't have any monsters anymore, so you're about to have all your monsters back in your deck. Yeah. That's a very powerful thing to be able to do that not a lot of decks can pull off consistently.
And especially with someone like KaminaKat piloting this deck as well. And Card of Demise is also a nice card for this deck as well.
I was about to say, he's looking an awful lot like he's running out of advantage, but having that last card in his hand tells me that it's a monster, which is not good for him, because in this deck you have very few monsters. 2 Compulsory Escape Devices come in off of the duality. Of course, he's going to choose that card because it's the staple card of the deck. It's not great to lose a piece of advantage and also lose a monster for Chain Beat.
Ooh, Desires as well.
Really, ooh, and there goes the Desires.
Chaining the Thunderbird.
He's coming back a little bit for card advantage, but the thing is, especially with the Kaijus in your opponent's hand, Chain Beat really struggles to keep monsters down, because one of the things that this deck tries to do is minimize the number of monsters that you have to use. And then the Fog Blade. Mm-hmm. This is a real problem.
Absolutely. I was going to say, Chain Beat back in the day was prevalent when Kaijus were non-existent. I mean, we had Lava Golem and stuff like that, but no one was playing it. So I would say Kaijus actually present the biggest threat, because the most likely stuff like Wind Up Rabbit and Thunderbird's going to want to chain off of the activation of something your opponent plays, but if they just Kaiju over it immediately, you're not just like that, right on
exactly
cue.
Like that.
You're not going to get that value out of it.
Yeah, and it's very good for KaminaKat that the Team Sam's hand was almost entirely Kaiju starting off this turn, because with that amount of card advantage that he's ending the last turn with, that's a struggle for Chain Beat to come back from. Mm-hmm. But like you were saying, he no longer has one of his tag out monsters on the board, so something like Compulsory Escape Device is just going to get him an egg. It's just, this is not an optimal matchup. For Chain Beat.
I would say the matchups is fine. I think the Kaijus are the only issue that are really like pressing here. Because if you think about it, without the kaijus, this deck doesn't really have a lot that it can really do against stuff that's pretty much removing itself from the board. Kind of almost playing in a similar style to Burning Abyss, but except instead of accruing advantage, you're just not like losing your advantage, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get that.
Ooh, the one thing on the tour guide.
Ooh, that's going to make a difference because now you don't really have any plays in your hand as Team Sam. But I mean, KaminaKat doesn't really have anything at this point. Unless he drew into another power play monster. There's
Wind-Up Rabbit.
Wind-Up Rabbit will do the trick. I was thinking something like a Thunder King, but Wind-Up Rabbit's probably even better since he's got the compulsory live. The one thing that I would caution about this matchup for Chainbeat, besides the Kaiju, is Fogblade. Fogblade makes a huge difference for this deck because a well-played Fogblade is going to play right around your Thunderbird and your Wind-Up Rabbit, and also the existence of Solemn Strike does make a difference.
Because Strike didn't exist when this deck was popular as well. So
it's also true.
So I mean, there's a bunch of new tools that are, work in favor of the deck because the deck can use them, but also work against the deck because it can no longer use them. So it's a double-edged sword if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, well, let's see.
So we got Dante. He had a Skarm, and there was a Silent Swordsman level 7 in there.
Yep.
I love it. I forget the synergy, but there is a way, like with Dante, to bring out. Oh yeah, you tribute a warrior monster to special summon the Silent Swordsman that came out in that Millennium pack.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know if it's special summoned or how it comes out, but then if that leaves the field, you get to special summon any Silent Swordsman from your deck for free. So you just bring out level 7, and it's basically Naturia Beast on steroids. So
yeah.
I remember because I wanted to try to make that deck work, but I did not work successfully. But it was a cool idea nonetheless.
Yeah. This is a powerful position for Team Sam to be in. He's got all of his advantage cards ready. Beatrice is on the board. It's not going to be as effective a disruptive piece as it usually is in this game, considering the fact that banishing your cards and them coming back during the end phase is kind of the bread and butter of this deck.
Right.
So your is it Farfa? Is that the banishy one?
Yes, Farfa.
That one's not going to be the tool that it is most of the time. But we've got this kind of card advantage going for you. That's not going to be that big a deal for you.
Yeah. So he sent the Silent Sword magic card to the graveyard, which I believe allows him to Rhoda for a Silent Swordsman card if he banishes it.
That's cute.
Yeah. So and you play it because Dante can mill it, which essentially just allows you to get to it. So it's kind of nice. We still have Terratop here because this is pre June 12th ban list. We just wanted to finish up the tournament on the same list for consistency. And plus Terratop, since we have a bunch of meta decks banned, Terratop helps out a lot of decks, so it's kind of fun still to see. It's not as broken since meta stuff is banned.
Yeah.
Still broken, but not as bad.
Yeah.
Alright, so here's the play I was talking about. So you tribute the Dante, you get the Silent Swordsman, and then you get to trigger Dante, so it's like free.
Yeah.
And then, even though the Silent Swordsman's only 1,000 attack, that spell can actually boost him up by 1,500 if he has it, because it's a quick play. So that puts him on 25, but like I said, if it dies, he gets to bring out 7, which is just insane.
That's a big problem. Really, what KaminaKat needs right here is a needle sealing macro.
Right.
Like that's what he really needs because he's got the monsters on the board for needle sealing. And a macro would just blow out this game because there's nothing he could put on. There's nothing that Sam could put on the board with Macrocosmos down that can run over a Thunderbird.
I was gonna say Beatrice is actually a really big problem for Chainburn to kind of deal with because I mean, unless you have something like the Banisher, the Radiance, the macro, unless you already got this stuff established, it can actually be very troublesome because it's just because of the way the deck plays.
Mm-hmm.
So both the Thunderbird and the Wind-Up Rabbit leave the field. I guess Compulsory Escape Device actually is a solid way to answer it as well, though.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, that would require him to have them. Oh, the drowning, just like you said.
I'm really curious about his waiting for the Beatrice to go through. Is there some logic that you can find in there that I'm missing because I'm so rusty on this game?
Not that I can think of.
Interesting. Hitting the Silent Swordsman with the Fog Blade.
Yeah, I find that interesting as well. Does
he think that it's going to stop the problem, or is he trying to use the fog blade? Is he trying to get the fog blade in the graveyard so that he can use it for Xyz plays?
That's what I was curious about as well, because I'm fairly... Well, did he attack with this? I thought he attacked with the Beatrice. Maybe I missed it.
I mean, yeah, but the drowning is going to...
It's going to resolve anyway.
Yeah,
Yes.
it does look like that's exactly what he was trying to do, is get a fog blade to the graveyard, because he knows that it's not going to do him a huge amount of good against this deck.
Well, I think
this particular point.
Yeah, so I think, this is what he's doing. So he just wanted to get the Fog Blade in the grave just so he has something to get the free level 3 material for. Because now he can just make a Leviair or... Leviair's the only thing I could think, because he's out of Dante's at this point.
Yeah.
So Leviair's nice, because then you can get back anything that's been banished, so it's just another free resource. Unfortunately, he can't use any of the Burning Abyss monsters to combo with it.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking if he possibly had I think he's trying to find a way to get the Dante back on the field so we can reestablish the Silent Swordsman. Because Silent Swordsman's normal effect is it can actually negate a spell card once per turn, I believe. So being able, especially when KaminaKat is on such a low amount of resources, if he can find a way to get that Silent Swordsman to stick, that's actually really big.
Yeah, being able to stop a Desires or a Card of Demise makes a huge difference for this deck. And he's going to take out that Escape device, which isn't going to make a huge difference for... Oh, where did I miss the Escape device play? Because there goes the second Drowning.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think he used Escape device previously.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's going to go into... He could possibly... I don't know if he's allowed to tribute the boots here. It must be special summon.
Like
okay, so it is a special summon to summon him, so he could do that.
Yeah. This is a really tough position for KaminaKat, because unless he top decks that demise, and even if he does, if his opponent has the Silent Swordsman, that's going to be trouble for him.
Exactly.
And I think that's what Sam realizes, is that the way that KaminaKat's going to get back into this game is if he has that +1.
Yeah, but he's opting for the Rebellion instead.
If this is a +1, then KaminaKat's back into the game.
Mm-hmm. Well, he does. Thunderbird and his Wind-Up Rabbit are coming back too. So the thing is, if he went into the Swordsman, the problem is KaminaKat could have just attacked over the Swordsman because it's only on 1,000 attack, and then he could just demise afterwards. So
that's true, but he would he not have had the level 7 on the field after that?
That is true, actually.
Yeah.
I forget the condition for Swordsman to get to summon out 7. I don't know if it's just destroyed or if it's card effect or specifically battle or any combination of them. But I know it has the ability to bring it out in some form.
So
I'm not sure if battle is one of them, though.
It looks like what's going on is that Team Sam is trying to avoid getting hit by something like Needle Sealing, like a blowout card. If he can just sit on this Dark Requiem... Oh, interesting.
Lost Wind. I like that in this deck. That's really good.
That's a very cute option.
You're loving this, aren't you?
I am really loving this. Like I said, there are a bunch of new cards that can work for Chain Beat. Chain Beat does struggle from the existence of the Kaijus and the sheer amount of monster negation that's common in the game right now, but it doesn't change the excitement I get from this deck having things like Mirror Force and all of these +1s.
Mm-hmm. So he has the Thunderbird and the Wind-Up Rabbit that are going to come back again. So again, it's just another turn. He has to figure out how he's going to deal with it. But here's the way they can get out the Silent Swordsman if he chooses to go this route, which it looks like he's going to. Yeah, just quickly reading Swordsman, it said, when a spell card is activated, you can negate the activation. I mean, that's pretty good.
That'll do it. That'll...
All right, so opting to tribute the Break Sword, which I think is better since the Break Sword doesn't really serve any purpose at this point.
Yeah.
Leaving the Dante out so you can Dante Seer Loop is much more valuable.
Yeah.
Because
that's really tough for Chain Beat to work around.
Mm-hmm. And the Beatrice returns, which means Lost Wind's going to get set back into the back row since a monster is special summoned from the extra deck.
Yep.
And Sam's going to get to search in the end phase with Skarm. Probably Graph is probably his best. Yeah. He's already gotten the tour guide. He's pretty much used a majority of his strongest BAs. He wants to leave Farfa in the deck for disruption. Thunderbird and Wind-Up Rabbit return, doing as they've been doing. But KaminaKat's still in that same position. He has to take down this Beatrice. And the Silent Swordsman also is, equally as annoying. So,
Yeah. I think for KaminaKat, this game really rests on the conditions for that Silent Swordsman.
yeah. Maybe if we can get a quick glance over it again if we're lucky. If Sam decides to hover over it. Struggles with YGO Pro. Okay, so Kamina sets a card.
Yeah. So that's probably not a good sign for him.
Man, quick shoutouts to KaminaKat, though. He played, such fun decks throughout this entire tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there was a match I watched of his that I was ever, disappointed with, because it was just, he played some crazy decks. Alright, so Beatrice in the end phase. I think he's going to try to force the tag out again.
Or if he's got is it Kagna that bounces his face down back to the hand?
Calcab bounces the face down. Yeah, so he could
that might be the way to go, because that lost win's probably not going to do him a huge amount of good in the coming turn.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
And he's going to get the Seer back from Dante as well. I would imagine that's what he's going to do, because Lost Wind is kind of... It's like you said. You already know it's the known, so...
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to play around, especially when you have this much advantage.
Yeah, and you really don't want that to be a mirror force or some kind of board wipe.
Right. And I mean, he's in a good position because KaminaKat can't tag out entirely. Because if he does, and now he doesn't have any protection, Beatrice can just attack for game.
Yeah.
So that's the issue he finds himself in right now. So I mean, you could, hypothetically, KaminaKat just scooped. Yeah, I would have probably done the same. I mean, it wasn't really looking too good for you, but going into game 2, KaminaKat gets to go first, so that could change a lot.
Yeah, and what I think is KaminaKat, what you're looking for is just choosing the right place. There's the
I was going to say,
That's
Dimensional Fissure is a good thing to look for.
Real early on.
Oh, man. Team Sam's hands, though, is pretty strong with the tour guide and, Mischief of the Gnomes on the shotgun. I like it. So that reduces the level of all the monsters in Team Sam's hand by 1, which means he cannot make Dante this turn. So tour guide is now a level 2. God, that's one of my favorite cards. The card is so good. It's so trolly, but it's so good
against a mechanic too.
Against Burning Abyss, it is so strong.
Pot of Desires. That's a +1. You need to be getting that early on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Sam's got a lot of strong back row, though, that KaminaKat has to work with. So there's the Thunderbird. Now, he could Warning this, and that would be the best thing to do.
Yep. Because that's when you want to use Warning. The second you see one of those taggable monsters.
Yep. Because Warning can just immediately stop it in its tracks. Okay, so Mischief of the Gnomes is no longer in effect, but KaminaKat can still banish it to reduce the levels again, which is why the card is so good.
Yeah.
But, Tour Guide's going to get hit by Warning.
Ooh.
All right, well, both Warnings out of both players' decks.
Yeah. But this that trade definitely favors KaminaKat.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the thing was, if he could put down a Break Sword with a not particularly important Burning Abyss underneath it, take out that D-Fissure, he was going to be able to continue playing. But with now having to actually use in-hand resources to get rid of it with Break Sword, he's going to have to put in a lot more work.
Sam just summoning the Scarm and poking for 800, hoping KaminaKat doesn't draw a monster. Another Desires!
Ooh. That's a dangerous move for a deck that's so grind game focused.
I think KaminaKat at this point he needs a monster. And he's at the desperation point where he needs resources and he needs them fast. Otherwise, he's going to lose regardless.
Yeah, and the thing is, even if he has a monster, that double Fogblade's going to make a difference.
Exactly. Because Sam could even use both Fogblades to potentially stop the banishing of one of the tag out monsters.
Yeah.
But Scarm getting that value in.
Yeah. That's the thing. He has to put down 6,000 points of damage in 7 turns.
Yeah.
And that's a tough thing to ask of Chain
Okay, he
Beat.
got the rabbit. So that's a
Ooh,
start.
and there's a strike on the left.
Ooh.
That's really bad news for KaminaKat. I'm seeing a 2-0 coming.
So the fog.
Interesting. Fogblading Skarm.
That is really interesting.
But that is, I mean, unless KaminaKat has a.
Okay.
Interesting.
So macro flip now. So that means everything's going to get banished from here on out.
Yeah. So I think
Seal of Orichalcos.
Ooh.
Okay.
That's cute.
So now that boosts all of his monsters by 500.
Yeah, you can't go into the battle phase. What's your plan here?
Yeah, because the Fogblade prevents the monster equipped with it from being attacking or being attacked.
Yeah.
So very interesting choice.
Ooh, Twin Twisters is going to make a difference in this game.
Absolutely. He can just pitch that Silent Swordsman because it's pretty useless at the moment.
Yeah.
And, I mean, with cards like Strike and a second Fogblade backing him up, I mean, Sam's definitely, even under DeFi and Macro, Sam's definitely in the advantageous position.
With that Twin Twisters in play, I would almost just go for the face downs. Because if you're just stalling for 6 turns with Burning Abyss with 2 Fogblades and a strike on the board against Chain Beat that's probably lost almost all of its monsters,
right?
You can just stall out and you've got the game. I would Twin Twisters the back row.
I was gonna say, because the funniest part about the whole situation, it looks like Sam's gonna go for the Fissure the macro though. Sam can't, or excuse me, KaminaKat cannot get over that Skarm with that rabbit.
Yeah,
like it is actually not gonna happen.
And one of the great things for the position that Sam is in right now is that, well, and now he's out of that position. I was going to say is that a compulsory escape device wouldn't have done KaminaKat any good in that position because it could have just chosen his face down monster.
So he does have a duality.
Duality takes away a turn from him. That's scary business.
So 2 lose 1 turns and a second copy of Wind Up Rabbit, which is probably the best thing you can go for at this point.
Yeah.
And there's the escape device.
The escape device.
That's actually really good in this situation, but the biggest problem is that Strike is going to completely mess with these plans.
Yep. But he's going to let it go through.
Interesting. I mean, I guess there is the second Wind Up Rabbit as well, so I mean, even if you strike it, I guess it's not really, I don't know, it's hard to say.
That's true. The cute thing about Strike in this position is if you activate a board wipe and your opponent chains one of their wind-up rabbits and you strike that wind-up rabbit, the other one can't chain.
Right.
So he can just Raigeki that wind-up rabbit out of the way, and he's taken out both of them as long as he's got that strike.
So Fogblade Banished is going to resurrect the Phantom Knight gloves in the graveyard.
Yeah.
Now it's interesting because he's still... I mean, Sam could just play the grind game here and just say, you know, you can't attack me.
Yeah, interesting to see that he's not setting that Fogblade.
Ooh, another escape device. Now this is where he might...
This might be...
The strike might come down now.
I would almost just Fogblade it and save the strike for later, because now the Fogblade would be loaded up in the graveyard.
That's true.
But no, he's still letting it go through.
So now both rabbits are going to return, which is 3,800 damage on the board. That
gets you halfway to where you need to be over the next 4 turns.
And the Fogblade isn't going to do any good. I mean, it'll pretty much delay some of the damage, but other than that...
Yeah. Well, he could... I mean, this is where this Raigeki strike play is going to come in clutch. Because if he can drop the Raigeki strike, he's got this game.
I was going to say, because at this point, KaminaKat might not even have any more monsters left in his deck.
Yeah.
So, we see the Libic getting normal summoned. Sets both cards. He just
goes into the end phase.
Interesting.
I don't think he's picked up on the fact that he can take out that entire board.
Or maybe he is waiting to see if KaminaKat has any other monsters left. Like, maybe he's just trying to dwindle him out to as few resources as possible to make that Raigeki strike combo as impactful as possible. Because, I mean, KaminaKat only has 3 cards left in deck. You know, and if you Fogblade this Libic, the wind-up rabbits can't attack it, so how do you win?
Unless he's got a back row clear of some sort, he has to take a turn, because a compulsory escape device will remove his whole board.
Mm-hmm. So both the rabbits are going to tag out.
Interesting. Tagging the rabbit in defense.
Slumber. Interesting. He's just going to pass. And honestly, this could just win Sam the game, because if KaminaKat does not have a way to out this is it.
Yeah,
he's going to deck out.
He has to do it this turn. He doesn't have any other option.
I was going to say, and plus, obviously, KaminaKat doesn't know the Raigeki strike combo, but that's already going to finish him, so just passing.
Yep.
And this is it. I mean, Sam he's just like, answer my board or I win.
Yeah.
This is actually really funny. A friend of mine, Mike Knowles, he actually got his invite from a last chance qualifier last year because he fog-bladed his own monster in time in the finals of an LCQ.
It'll do the trick.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, unless this last card that KaminaKat's about to draw into is a like a Twin Twister or something like that, he's good to go. Like, Sam's got this.
Yeah. Because, I mean, he would need a Twin Twister and then hit the other Fog Blade that he doesn't know is set as well.
Yeah, the choice for KaminaKat that I really don't understand is keeping in the lose one turn.
Yeah, that was
does
an interesting
very
choice.
little for this matchup, because the one thing that Burning Abyss really has in its favor against Chain Beat is the ability to just switch your monsters to defense mode.
Yep.
Because even in a Garden Beat deck, Dante sits with a 2,500.
And that's it. KaminaKat takes the loss, and Team Sam is going to make it to the finals. So TeamSamuraiX1, Heisenwolf, who's going to be your 2017 YugiTuber Grand Championship? Stick around for the finals.
I'm excited to watch.
1, 2, 3,